going to get started. By the way, right? This is going to impress. This is going to impress Anne. Look at that, Anne. Ribblesdale, right? Ribblesdale, and it's a honey and flour goat log, and it's actually made with goat's cheese and flowers.
Very nice. Goat's cheese is lovely. Oh.
But Anne, I can't do all these things to impress you. And look at that, a can of Tango, really healthy diet.
Well, I think the original thing was nice. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So before Roger does my head in, right? Let's see if there's any news from anyone. Why do we start off with Anne? Any news from you, Anne?
No, I have no news at all. I'm very lazy. I am doing this course. I don't do a lot in between, but I do enjoy coming.
Have you done any more with your wool?
Yes, I've done a bit, but I've done some more spinning, but it'll take me a time, I think, to get proficient at it, because there's a technique when you stretch it, you have to sort of stretch it thinner before you spin it. And if you're not too careful, it splits, and you're joining it.
But that's the whole point. You're supposed to be matting it as you.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes some. Yeah, that's right. But if you take it too far, it just breaks, and then I can join it, but it's not keeping it this even thickness I'm looking for. But I have done some more with it, and I'm practicing a bit. That's as far as I've got. I think it might take me a while to get it, but
that's the whole point of the lanolin in it. That really, really helps.
Yeah.
Teasing.
So, but by the way, recently, right, with my practice into smoke, right, actually, it's actually calming me down, right. So I went to Michelle's parents' house with one of these in my mouth the other day. She said they didn't say a word, as if I smoked all my life. Apparently, I'm one of the best smokers in the acting industry, even though I don't smoke. It's all right. I'm sitting down listening to a 60s song, and I'm just like in the corner going. Right, anyway, cracking on. Andy, we don't want to promote smoking, but we do want to promote smoking without real fags. There you go. Andy, anything for Andy's never smoked in his life, so I wouldn't even, just not even go in there. Right, Andy, anything you want to tell us this week?
No, nothing, I'm afraid.
Okay, fair enough.
Quiet week.
It's been a quiet week, so also sometimes good. Margaret, hopefully you've got some news for us this week, darling.
They found what's it called? One of those enclosures. What do they call them?
Enclosure.
At one of those in Scotland.
Oh.
6,000 years old.
Is that to do with the aerial photography?
They're doing an archaeological dig,
right?
And they're hoping to uncover more secrets of this farming enclosure older than Stonehenge. It was first spotted from the sky as crop marks in the 1970s, and it's on the River Tweed, so it's just over the border. But it's the most northerly one of these. Most of them are down south.
Down south, is it?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
They always like to say it's older than Stonehenge.
It's older than Stonehenge.
They always say that.
With the stones from Wales, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They migrate north, exactly. And anything's older than Stonehenge, as we know. It's
the new Pompeii.
Well, which one? Which one? The Bandia? Oh, shut up about that.
No, that's Must Farm. Is the?
They're all the new Pompeii.
Hang on, that's been the new Pompeii for ages.
Yeah, it has. Yeah,
it has.
It's just like it, isn't it?
It has. I've got to be careful now when I'm doing recordings. The other day, there was all these ants on the top of my car, right? So it was amazing that they were just on my car, loads of ants, right? Flying ants, right? And I made a film of it, right? It was very popular on TikTok, and I'm not really sure why until somebody pointed out that the reflection could see me in my pants.
Oh,
eminent archaeologist.
Eminent archaeologist in his pants. Yeah.
Well, it was hot. Yeah.
It was hot. It was hot. Right. Right now we've got we've got Will back. Right. And I communicated to Will the other day, and there might be a chance that I might be winning another film award in Canada. And they basically said, "Can you send somebody along?" And I thought, maybe Will. That's if we win the award. So if we win the award, then I send him Will along with a pack of crisps, and he can accept the award from me. So that's good, sorted. But anyway, it's only 2 hours away from him. That's fine. Right. So who we can have now? Roger's been in the archive in Cardiff, right? And as Roger's Welsh, you got to say Cardiff. So Roger, any update from you, lovely?
Yes, I found out that I'm getting a copy of the paper that was done, giving the history and then the details of the dig. And what they found, it wasn't a coin. Perhaps if there was a coin, it was somewhere else later on. But what they did find for the Roman was some Samian ware. This is the red ware, the stamped, well, they tend to be stamped, if you've got the right bits.
The base,
the two parts of moritaria, the grinding bowls.
Yes, good.
Just parts of those. And that was it. So there was a definite presence there. And you think, well, if it's Samian ware, is it more likely to be army? But then with the mortarium, that could be either. It could be domestic or army.
Domestic or civilian, yeah.
What opens it up? So I don't need to see them because I know what that stuff is. That won't tell us much. But I'm still going to get onto the ranger who looks after the place to see if I can do some detecting there.
Good.
As you said, if you can't go down, you can always have a look at it all or use a handheld something just to get something out of it. So that's an unknown yet. Yeah. And I'm going to go down to the terrace of houses behind it all to see if there's any Roman presence in that field that had a building there. So
this is the Whitchurch in Cardiff. Exactly, I thought that.
Yes, on the map you've got, it's on that field saying Roman station. There's just houses there now, so see what they found, if anything, in the garden. So you never know. But no sign of any coin. I'd hope the coin they said had been found would be somewhere, but I don't know where it is. To give us an idea, but who knows? Because the Romans were in Cardiff for a fair time before everything collapsed and maybe pulled out. So I don't know yet what that will do, but if I can get some detecting done there, it might reveal a few things and to see what people say in the area. It's been untapped. No one bothered to check it.
Sounds exciting stuff, Roger. Thanks for that. And
a crack at it. So that's next thing.
Good. And I just wanted to say that we've also got Richard, who's actually doing some research for you as well. Right. And I sent Roger a copy of the how the next page of the next Elystic pillar, and it's looking extremely different. Put it that way. Yes. We've got a professional designer on it, and something else. So anyway, right, okay. Let's see if there's anything from Drina, love.
No, not this week.
Nothing at all. Okay.
No.
And then finally, we got to quickly ask Will if he's got anything to say, and because by the way, I haven't heard from Dave yet, and I think some of you have been trying to try. None of us have got hold of him yet, which is a shame. So maybe it might be a visit to him. I don't know. It's be a bit difficult for me, but it's just a thought. Judith, anything from you?
Outside, does he?
No, he's in Grange over Sands, which is actually just a stone's throw away from Ironside, but you've got to go a massive way all the way around, and you can get there on the train, easy, but the train is literally minutes, but to get there in car, you've got to go all the way around. It's a weird arrangement.
I'll send a card. I'll send a card this week. I'll make a note.
Okay, good. Good. Judith, anything from you quick before we start on?
Nothing. Nothing. You can crack on.
All right, then. Thanks for your permission to do that. All right. Okay, then. And Will, anything you want to say, love?
No, I'm just settling back into routine.
All right, yeah.
Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah. So nothing new from you then?
No.
Okay. Right. So we're ready to start. It's a little bit of a different one today. We do look at the last site, which is Sheepen, which is particularly involving the likes of some evidence that we've got in regards to Boudica. So we'll be looking at that. But we've got a few really different things tonight as well. So it's a nice little bit of a sort of patchwork, a polychrome patchwork of history and archaeology and Roman stuff and non-Roman stuff tonight. So let's go to see if you can see the first image, right? And let's just see where we are. So first image, get this up. I'm in a completely different location tonight. So I'm in the archaeological caravan. There, skeleton thingamajig. There you go. So let's just get the image. Let's get where. All right. Are you seeing? What are you seeing on the screen, Margaret?
I'm seeing archaeology community discovering Wales through archaeology.
And there you go. And before we go any further, I would like to mention that Judith's going to be aware of this. That I've got a daily archaeological thing that I'm doing now, and I'm doing a live thing on Sunday as well. So that's every day now. So I just do a little bit of archaeological news. And yesterday, we looked, well, I think it was yesterday or the day before, we looked at some aerial photography and looked at Herculaneum today. And there's something else to do with Pembroke that I've looked at as well.
Are you doing this on YouTube? I see you're doing more things on YouTube.
Yeah, it's a YouTube thing. So basically on YouTube, it's like a daily thing that I'm doing. I'm finding a bit of archaeological news which is current, and I just do like 60-second thing, a little bit of a video.
Yeah.
Or I grab a video from somewhere and I just sort of put some stuff with it, and so that's every time on YouTube. That's every day on YouTube. So if anyone does go on YouTube, don't forget to sort of subscribe to my YouTube channel and like and sort of whatever. And those people that are actually watching on YouTube now, that's where I occasionally get some chat stuff from.
Under Archaeology Cymru, is it?
My YouTube is actually called it's just simply karl-james Langford, and it's I put a little video on there every day to do with archaeology, and there are some other weird things as well. Sometimes about the sheep, sometimes about the rain, sometimes about flies flying on my car, a lot of other things. So anyway, let's crack on. So we're going to Roman Britain. It's not all Roman Britain tonight, and I do believe the first thing that I do see is thanks to looking at my phone again. So obviously some of the things that we do, as you know, are care of me suddenly finding things on the internet. And one thing I would say, I know we showed this last week, is that I am going to see the Odysseus film. And one big reason why I want to go see the Odysseus film is that they're not using AI. They're using old-fashioned cameras on spools. Yeah, they are. They've had to get people to be trained to do that. And I think we mentioned this last week. And they're using musical instruments that existed thousands of years ago, and they've been looking at the illustrations. They've been working out how they worked. It's an instrument called an aulos, which is a double thinged flute, which I'm sure you've seen on illustrations. And I tell you, the sound of an aulos player, AULOS, is actually amazing. Just one aulos player just fills the room, and I've actually seen somebody perform this on YouTube, and they're using a musical instruments from the Greek period in this film to actually give the soundtrack. So, and lots of there's been lots of critics about this film because they're not sort of going into sci-fi, and this is what actually as an actor archaeologist, this is the type of thing I want to be watching. So I'm going to be seeing this on Sunday, but it's a 3-hour film, so a massive load of popcorn and loads to drink. So yeah, this is one of those things that I come up with on the internet, and this sort of was flagged up on my computer, and this is actually, there it is. There's another. This is the thing that I copied from. I did a screenshot. So Emperor Nero's 2,000-year-old bathtub was carved from one of the rarest stones on Earth, and this is estimated to be worth £1 billion. Just this bath is worth £1 billion today, because the stone that they're using, which is porphyry, it's porphyry, so I think that's porphyry, and it's just porphyry. Porphyry. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? I got there. Porphyry.
You did.
I did.
Done.
Yeah, porphyry. You spell it out and you get the word. Do you know? I was Gina. I was sat there earlier on. I thought, how does this, and porphyry, you just get it, eventually, and I just thought this was absolutely great, and it just sort of reminds me that things like this, you come across things like this, and you just like looking at this, and what we've got is that there it is. So Nero's bath is they refer to it as a porphyry monolithic basin, which was actually made for Emperor Nero himself. And look at it there. It's a single block of this rare purple.
How did he climb in? Look at the people behind him.
Yeah. Let's do another scale. Look at that. Actually, you've got a really, really good point there, love. And I actually didn't have time to go into this, because I just thought this room itself, and you've got these statues, and I'm thinking this is actually the Vatican. This is actually the Vatican, one of the Vatican's museums, where this is actually to be found. It's also to be referred to as part of the ancient baths of Nero. So rare porphyry is a rare purple imperial stone. So purple was the imperial color. So this is Nero wanting to feel himself, the bee's knees. Can you, Anne, can you just remake that statement in a moment that you just made a moment ago? I'm not going to get any. Do you realize that this measures, right, 25 feet in diameter?
Yeah. Looks like it.
Guess what? Yeah. But it's this 7.5 meters. But the building in West Wales, right? The round building, the bio where the sheep live underneath, right? Which obviously I'm not talking to you now tonight in, but I usually talk to you in, right? That building is just over probably about 6 meters in diameter, right? This is bigger. So this would actually fit in there. No, start again. My building would fit in here.
Inside that, yeah.
It would fit inside that. So if suddenly my building, right, suddenly could move, would fit in there, and you could still see the bath.
You could have a party in that.
Yeah.
They probably did.
Yeah.
Roger's there with his illegal raves. Now the thing is, so now listen to this, guys, right? Listen to this. There are some historians who argue it was a cold water, a labrum, which was a washing basin rather than a personal bathtub. I'm thinking, I gotta get my artificial fag out in a minute. What drugs were they smoking? You know what I mean? It's just like this was made, right, roughly around 63 AD 63, right? And this was associated with a large bath complex. So my feeling is that they must have built the Vatican Museum around this, because it's not. Can you imagine, right? It won't exactly fit in through the doors, guys. The doors are in 2 meters wide.
And it'd need ladders to get in, wouldn't it? Or a hoist or something.
Yeah. I'm just trying to work out, right? I'm trying to work out, because the baths of Nero, right? The actual baths of Nero still partly survive. They were converted into a church, right? But this has actually been taken to the museum in the Vatican, right? And I just wanted to show you that. I just thought this is one. I didn't have a chance to do any more work on this at all. I just didn't, right? Judith's really impressed with the amount of research I do every week, but Judith, I just didn't. I was just overcome by this bath, right? And the weird thing is the statues in the background, I do believe the original statues as well. I'm just wondering about the legs, because the legs, if we're thinking about this is the weight of this, even though it's hollowed out. So if we think about a square ton of the porphyry, is a square, yes, the square meter is going to probably be a square ton, right? So we're looking at probably I'm not, because it's been hollowed out, you can't really look at that, but we're talking about probably about 4 tons in weight, which is the weight of some of the stones at Stonehenge. See, nobody wants to say anymore because I'm gobsmacked as well. Anyway, let's move on. So we got the other image there, and look at that there. I got to be honest with you, that sort of basilica-like building there must be absolutely huge, because if that's 7.5 meters wide, right, then the building must be huge. And the mosaic on the floor, do you know what, right? I want to stand in that room and I want to ask several questions. I want to ask about the statues. I want to ask about the mosaic on the floor, right? How old is that? Is it like it can't be a medieval mosaic because they didn't do that. So is that an original mosaic, or what's this about? What's all the statues? And the other question is, they're not going to get it through that door for a start. So they must have built this building around it. It's the only thing I can think of. Or they come via the roof with a massive giant and a crane.
Would they not do it sideways?
No, shut up, you silly woman. Oh, come on.
Sorry.
Come on. No, come on. Look, don't tell me they rolled it in, did they?
Yes, why not?
Hang on. Look. Look at the clearance of that there, right? Now, is the clearance of that would have to be 8 meters clearance, right? Yeah. So, go on, Drina. They rolled it in sideways. We'll have that one. No, actually, that's a really.
Perhaps there's another door that we can't see this end.
Yes, true.
They're taking a photo. But it's much bigger, and they could get it in like that.
Hang on. I'm sorry. No, Anne, you've lost this one. I'm with Drina rolling in, and you don't suitably win the argument. And the reason why you don't suitably win the argument, right? I'm gonna be proven wrong on this. These columns are load bearing, right? And they would have to be equal columns around the entire room to have equal load bearing, right? For the material above. And in that case, the doorway couldn't be any wider than the load bearing pillars on either side. Yeah, I like that. That was good, wasn't it? Yeah. Unless, hang on a minute, there's an arch, right? That is like spanned over like sort of 2 of these, right? And it's like an arch. Yeah, let's carry on. Drina, you've won it. Right, we've got to go with that one, right? So what's our Andy wants to say something. Go on, Andy.
I was just looking up to see if I could find out what the weight is. Apparently it's never actually been weighed, but their estimates are from several tons, but most references say 15 tons.
Shut up. No.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
that'd be hard work rolling that.
Yeah, quite.
And no, you're not going to No, that's sorry. I undermined Drina once tonight. You're not undermining her as well. They rolled it in. Basically, what they had like this special frame, right, which was made of wood, like cedar wood, which is right really dense, right, and And as they're rolling it along, the cedar wood would be crushed by the weight of this, and I'd have to replace that panel, and then just keep rolling. Eventually, got it in, but right then it was upright in the room, right, sort of vertically, and then said, "Oh, it was two Irish navvies again." So Murphy said to Murphy, we got this sideways up. Maybe the Roman emperor had a bath with the water sideways, right? Look, I've got to stop. Somebody's going to phone in one day and say you're being racist towards Irish.
Yes.
But hang on a minute, Andy, right? Who's to say the water wasn't vertical? Right, let's move on.
I've seen it on a slant. I've never seen it vertical, except over a waterfall.
Or maybe, right? Maybe. Hang on. I've worked it out. The two Murphys are Murphy. If we put it this way up, when in fact it was the other way up in the first place, right? And actually, it never held water at all. It was just like it was like a little roof for little miniature people, and it kept the rain off.
Top of the dome, yeah.
It was the top of the dome, yeah. Unfortunately, the building they put it on, right, was made of wood, and the whole thing collapsed. And on the way down, it turned around, and there you go, job done.
Well, the legs would be removable, wouldn't they?
What's that?
The legs would be removable, I should think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I tell you what, going to move it to the next room, Margaret, yeah? And we're just going to move the legs. We're just going to go, shut up. Yeah, it's probably... yeah, this is the thing about the legs. The legs have got to be, like... Look at those legs. Look at the amount of weight those legs are taking.
Pretty sturdy, isn't it?
Pretty sturdy, yeah.
Where did it come from?
It came from the baths of Nero.
That's it. That's the museum, the Vatican Museum.
No, where did that? Where did they get the stone?
Oh, they got off Egypt.
Okay, thank you.
I thought, right, guys, answer your questions, right? I got to move on, loves, right? It was right that. Andy, stop moaning. Right. So the baths of Nero, right? The baths of Nero, which were later being the baths of Alexander, right, were actually converted into the Church of San Estachio, right? And basically, yeah, right. So what happened, right? Is that the baths, some of the material from the baths was eventually used in reworking the Pantheon, right? Which is obviously still standing, which had a dome on it. Maybe this was the top of the dome of the Pantheon, right? And they thought, no way, right? Anyway, it comes from Egypt initially.
Does it? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, what it was, right? This is a true story, right? They put it on the water, right, and it floated, and they had a couple of people using it as a coracle, right, and they eventually got to the port of Ostia, right, and they rolled it all the way to the baths, right, and then it went in the baths, right, and then they wanted to use this as the top of a dome, right, but they couldn't do that, and anyway, they put it in your job done.
I can't believe that would float in water. What weight did you say it was? All these theories are going a bit senseless.
Yeah, well, I didn't say you're supposed to take any of them seriously, right? No, it was actually a marble coracle that had a couple of oarsmen all the way from Egypt and eventually got to Ostia. I tell you what, it's better than some of those stories about the stones going to Stonehenge, right?
Yeah, that's a good story.
Yeah, basically, we got to link this in with Stonehenge, right? Because it was the Royal Engineers decided to find a stone the size of the ones at Stonehenge, right? And they thought, right, if the stones from Stonehenge went by water, right, from Preseli in West Wales, and then eventually River Severn, and then eventually down the River Avon, right? So they built this massive raft, right? These engineers from the British Army. This is just a few years ago, and they put it out, and the thing sank. So, if the British Army can't move a stone this size, I don't know who can. Maybe it was moved by one of the Kremlin's Chinooks. We don't know. Right, guys, we're going to do some more sensible stuff. I don't know how that turned into a total debacle. Then, if anyone's watching this, they probably turned off. Right, okay. Will's already gone. He's just lost the plot. Anyway, so what I want us to do now is, thanks to a little bit of help from Henry on a Wednesday, right? He sent me these images, and he basically said, right, there's a few images that have come up in connection with crop marks that have been found in Wales. Now, what did Margaret say? There's been one found in Scotland, a banjo enclosure or something similar, right? So this is really interesting. So as we know, guys, Wales has had a heat wave, and basically, there you go. You know, it's bad. It's a bad state. You know, Margaret sent me a message saying, "Look, honestly, Margaret said, she said, look, she said, get all your animals in a big van, and they can come up to my garden to eat all the grass." And I said, look, Margaret, and Margaret was going to pay for it as well. But unfortunately, it started raining, Margaret. So it's actually started raining this minute. So it's good. But what it is, right, what they've been doing is finding these wonderful, we'll go through all these in a moment. We'll talk about these in little detail, right? They've been finding all these shapes and things across the landscape, right, which is absolutely brilliant. Yeah. From North Wales, Middle, West Wales to the south, they've been finding them all over the place. Yeah. So we will look at these and even look at that. Yeah. Wow. So lost archaeological sites have emerged in grasslands across Wales after a prolonged drought spell of hot and dry weather. Wales has seen about 5% of the average rainfall for July. In fact, there was no rainfall in July, so don't even know where they got that from. And so after a series of back-to-back heat waves, and obviously we had a fairly dry April, right? We had a bit of rain in May, and then it was really dry in June, and it's still a bit dry, but we've actually got the sort of rain back now. It was actually raining then. That second is stopped now. So experts have said these dry conditions have brought to light a range of hidden archaeological remains, like this one, which we'll talk about, including Roman buildings and practice trenches from World War I. Yeah. So this type of stuff is brilliant, but I want to sort of go talk about something else. You don't need the sun, right, to have a parched landscape to actually see crop marks. Crop marks can come up in snow, yeah. Crop marks can come up in when you've got flooding. You know, crop marks can come up when there's the crops are just growing, you know, in really rich, rainy conditions in the summer, and that's because the roots would go into where the original ditches were and grow higher than the rest of the landscape. So there's loads of conditions that you might actually find crop marks. So when we do see these types of things on the ground, right, that's a golf course. You're not going to see it, right? You're not going to see this on the ground. So this is a thing with these crop marks. The landscape's fairly flat. So many are only visible from the air as distinctive marks in crops and grass, with some not being seen for 2 or 3 decades, or some have not been seen at all, right? And the interesting thing, what we do occasionally find things like this that weren't recorded after the First World War, and we found them and we thought, right, brilliant. So what I might do is just, I might just mention this before I sort of go on and sort of say any more. Parched marks of World War I practice trenches are seen beneath a golf course in Deganwy, Conwy. There were these in Powys in central Wales. There were these in West Wales as well. And there were lots of these across Britain. And I'll tell you a really sad story about these trenches, that they actually did use live ammunition, right? And occasionally people did get killed, right? So what they would do, they would write home to the family and say that their sons or their husbands died in action in France. Nobody had a telegram saying that they died in Britain. So they just sort of, because wouldn't that be terrible that people had gone to fight the Germans to die in Britain, and that's a true story, right? And again, these are testament to a time that was not long ago. And I remember meeting First World War veterans. So in my lifetime, I met the types of people who fought in this type of landscape. But these were practice trenches. And dozens of young men and fathers and whatever, husbands, died in Britain, right, before they even got to France. So I just wanted to start us off on that one. So if we look at this will show it a lot better than any others, right? So the crop marks are made by vegetation drawing on better nutrients. So that line there is actually drawing upon better nutrients. I've probably got a trackway going across there and then another trackway, right? There's something else I want to show you on these illustrations as well, which tie in with last week, but we won't do that yet. So the vegetarian draws on better nutrients and water supplies trapped in long gone fortification ditches, leading to green growth that stands out. So what we do see is, if we want to share what's happening there, is that the landscape's completely parched, but you can still see these lands, this field mark here, right? And you can see this field mark here. Two things I'll say about this field here. It's either been extensively grazed by sheep like ours, or they've actually just taken the hay off, and they've taken the hay off and nothing's growing back. And that's going to be the problem to lots of farmers, including us here, that when you take hay off, you expect the grass to grow back through. So you can possibly think of a fairly late hay crop, but we're not going to get that. So this all shows a testament to the ongoing changes what are happening to us. So what you can see there, the green growth stands out, and this is probably similar to there would be something extending out here out the front. This is sort of similar to, I think, what Margaret's described. So these appear as quickly as they emerge once the weather conditions change, right? So what's going to happen is that if we didn't take these photographs now, right, we may never see these again for a decade. We might never see these again, right? Because that's the situation. Well, you never know. Next year it might be green, lush, and we might not get these conditions again for another 10 years, right? I've never seen this type of dry weather in my lifetime, right? Yeah, I know some of you have in 1976, but I haven't, right? So archaeologist Toby Dryber, working for the Royal Commission on Ancient Monuments. This is the guy who goes up in the plane and identifies things. He's just basically the aerial photography guy in Wales. So basically, he's racing around against the heat to record and study these monuments as quickly as he can. He said they would normally have to wait every 5 to 7 years for a record heat wave summer for aerial archaeology, but now they come, he's saying, every year, or we're getting these conditions more often, I would say. So going back to my notes again, the Royal Commission on Ancient Historic Monuments have found these things across Wales. Since May, they've been doing this aerial photography. While much of West and South Wales stayed fairly damp and green, now what's happening is it's the same thing. And the other thing as well is what's going to happen is, if this weather continues any much longer, right, this is not going to be seen either. And the reason why this is not going to be seen either, right, is simply because it's going to be so dry that even aerial photography is not going to be able to come up with things. So what we've got monuments ranging from prehistoric long barrows, Roman forts, as we've already seen, First World War practice trenches, and not porphyry, marble, doodads. So the National Archive for the Welsh Historic Environment has released some of the photographs, but not all of them. And these are actually planes that are actually flying from airports that are not often used. Carnarvon Airport in North Wales and Haverfordwest Airport. They're taking light planes out and they're doing all this photography. This year has been pretty windy across Wales, but at this minute, over the past month, it's been not so windy. Sometimes the crop marks are so clear they jump out as we orbit the aircraft, around to photograph them. So the one thing about taking photographs of these things is it's best to get as vertical as possible, because what happens if you're not vertical as possible, there's some distortion of what you're seeing on the ground, right? So and sometimes it's good to take black and white images because there's good contrast. Other times it's good to take sort of color images like this. So what we're thinking is that, you know, we're with the archaeologies adding some parts of Wales are now so dry that the crop mats can be faint and pretty hard to see. So what they're doing with that scenario, in these cases, we digitally rebalance the color bands of the image, really making the archaeology pop and reveal previously hidden details. These images appear better when they're black and white. So if we look at that there with the color image, you can obviously see things. This is a fort that we know about, and there's one or two things that you can actually see in the field. But when it's black and white, so much more can be seen. So when we're seeing this, and actually what I might do is show an image to Margaret if she's describing the one off television, right? But if we look at this aerial photography, right? Yeah, a color, you can see a couple of lines here. But what we can see, which is quite exciting, is all these buildings associated with this Roman fort. Look at them all. There's loads of them. There's buildings here. There's like a bath complex over here. There's more buildings. In this field, you've obviously got the fort itself, which we know about. But when you start to look around, you sort of see other faint lines, like these lines here, and sort of the gateway sort of leading into sort of the roadway. So you can actually see really nice things on the black and white. As you sort of fade back out, you can see some really interesting things as well.
Karl, is that an infrared one?
No, this is black and white.
Okay.
This is just simply black and white. So basically, they've taken them in black and white. So the contrast has come up better than if you've taken them in color. No, these are not infrared. No, that's just black and white. So I'm glad you asked that one. But one of the things, if we go to which is near me, not that one there. Hang on, if we go through that one there. You know that central thing, that's sort of a banjo enclosure type thing. Is that what you saw on television, Margaret? Margaret? She's not talking. Is that what you saw?
Similar.
Yeah, that's not typically banjo enclosure, but that's the type of shape that you'd get with a banjo enclosure.
They just call it a farming enclosure. They didn't say banjo.
So, but this really interesting one is near me in Ceredigion, and obviously in Lampeter. So you can very I can guess I know where that is, but that there is because it's so dry. That's why they've taken it in black and white. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back and just sort of go through this gently again. And this is on the Llŷn Peninsula. The Llŷn Peninsula is that bit of Wales that sticks out, sort of associated with just south of Anglesey. And Gwynedd is the bit that sticks out into the sea. It's very few people go to the Llŷn Peninsula, but it's full of rich Iron Age archaeology, loads of it. And there's also something called Trier Kerry, which is like a huge Iron Age fort, right, which had some links with sort of changes in the Roman era as well. But for when we look at this directly links in with what I was saying last night, not last week, last week, not last night, last week. This links in with what we were saying last week. And one thing I was saying last week was that this is proof of what I said, actually, is you can clearly see all these little boundaries and drainage and these types of things that go into the landscape of this prehistoric landscape. And this is exactly what I was talking about, the landscape needing all these sort of hedges and sort of a different use of the landscape than we've got with the open landscape today. So again, there's a direct comparison there where you've got modern landscapes where you've got these massive sort of fields, right? And the reason, if you note something directly on the screen, if you've got massive fields without hedges and without trees dividing them, it gets very parched quickly. But as you can see, if you've got sort of smaller fields, right, they seem to air better than these bigger fields. And you've got the trees as well, so you've got that bit there's quite lush. So obviously with the past and looking at something like this, you can get a better idea what's going on in the prehistoric period and the use of the landscape. And again, we've looked at this. This is karl-james Roman fort, one of those Roman forts that was is in north central Wales. And again, another one there. And crop marks, Bronze Age Barrow Cemetery. Now this is again from the Clean Peninsula in Gwynedd, North Wales. Looking at this as well, these are quite clear. They're not enclosures. They're not sort of to do with settlements. What you can see is lots of other bits of land use. There's one thing when you look at aerial photography, you're looking at a land use of thousands and thousands of years. But going back to these, you can probably think that these are contemporary within about 200 years of the Bronze Age, right? And what we're seeing particularly in the Second World War, when they're clearing landscapes in South Wales, for example, for airfields, they're clearing lots of the barrows. But as we're flying over them using the aerial photography, we can actually work out where all the barrows were, which they were clearing, flattening the landscape so they could land planes. But aerial photography, you can still see them because even though they scraped off the top of the mounds of these barrows, right, you've still got the outlines and obviously the ditches that have not been removed. And again, weird little things like this is in South Wales, Vale of Glamorgan. And interesting enough, can you spot the Roman villa? Yes, I can straight away. It's there. There's a faint trace of what looks like a Roman villa, and that would be described as a corridor, or basically just a corridor, probably dating to about AD 100 or something like that. And so this is again within something that's clearly prehistoric, and this may have actually started off as a Neolithic causewayed enclosure, where you would get a causeway, you get a ditch, a causeway, a ditch. And one thing that's clear is that you can actually see that there's possibly that this has all been added together at some stage, and that bit, can you see what I'm looking at in the archaeology? That bit there is lusher, so that's deeper than this, and that's lusher and deeper than this. So that would indicate that this, if this was a causewayed enclosure, which is Neolithic, started off as a causewayed enclosure that Stonehenge did, that Aveby started off, and all these other places, right? So basically, causewayed enclosure, we call them stringer sausages, so that there'd be a ditch and a causeway in between that hadn't been carved out. But in coming into the Bronze Age, what they did, they cut through where the ditch was in the causewayed enclosure. They cut through this bank and into the other ditch, cut through the bank into the ditch to actually create one single enclosure. But again, nice little bit of a something showing there. And again, this is when I think about West Wales, lots of the archaeology has been deliberately removed, has been deliberately destroyed. And I don't think I can tell you about the conversation I'm having with somebody tomorrow, but I've got a very important conversation with somebody tomorrow who's quite high up in archaeology, and maybe I'm going to be starting to talk about things like this and how we can preserve and understand the landscape and inform people and make them aware that there's a rich archaeology out there. And the rich archaeology is showing through these aerial photography as well. And again, back to these trenches, I sort of gave the sort of more of a social story when I was talking about the individual soldiers, and so right too. However, one thing that I would say is that even you can see that this golf course is dead. It's completely dead. That's what our land is like in West Wales now. But that is completely dead, and that's going to take about 2 months for the grass to come green again, and that's with constant rain. But what you've got is that this is probably when they started to realize that the First World War is about trench warfare. So these are going to be dug to sort of show what fighting is going to be like in the trenches, but also to actually dig these trenches. These people could not just dig a trench, dig a straight line as a trench. You had to have them crenellated like this on a vertical on a horizon. So these would be ditches which would probably be about 2 meters deep, with duck boards in them. All the rest of it. They would have set up communication trenches. They would have also have tried out different ways that these trenches work, and they don't work. So sooner at some stage they realised that having a straight line didn't work involving trenches, and obviously communication trenches from the front to the back trench. All of these things were tried, and we see lots of these across the country, and also firing onto people in other trenches, and this is why people got killed, because they and obviously we've mentioned this near me in Lampeter, and obviously the square box. Now, there's one thing I wanted to say before we go on to this and this. There's one thing I want to say, that when you think about archaeology, right, the usual thing that people talk about is, I don't think the interpretation is correct on the screen there, right? But maybe not this example, but if we go back to this example, you can clearly see that is like slightly rectangular, right? Which would sort of roughly be Iron Age, maybe. Usually archaeologists would usually say in the past, obviously that's a Roman fort, right? But it's likely it's not a Roman fort. It's likely it might be on Iron Age. But the point is, what I'm getting at is when you get series like Time Team and so on, they say, oh, that's rectangular, it's obviously Roman, right? But in the Iron Age, they did do things rectangular. They did do things square, right? And that's the point. And this is rather interesting, really. This is near me in West Wales as well. Previously unrecorded Iron Age or Roman double-ditched farmstead was revealed in ripening crop marks near Llandyssil, Carmarthen, Ceredigion. And I have seen these types of settlements before, where you've got these double ditches and you might have round houses in them. You might have the square or rectangular building in regards to the Roman period. But again, this is new, a really interesting, nice piece of archaeology. And naturally soon, and the problem is doing this in this caravan by here, the sheep are just next door. So you're probably hearing the sheep, but they will be fed very soon. So what I did tonight was that what I wanted to do tonight was that I wanted to do some of the archaeology type report stuff that I'm doing on a daily basis on my YouTube channel. So this wasn't actually found recently. When I say recently, this was found on the 17th of July. So it's recent in terms of, it's not today, but it's in the past few weeks. So man find rare Roman treasure in a field, right? And unfortunately, it tells you what it is straight away. I wanted you to guess what that is, but this is actually part of a rattle, an actual rattle, a Roman rattle, right? So these are the bits, the side bits, that's sort of the base bit. This is a bit of a rattle. So really interesting. So something different, something very, very different, something different associated with the Roman period. So this is this was a hoard of different objects, bronze objects, dated to about 2,000 years ago. This is associated with Buckinghamshire, and basically what this included as well was the remains of a bronze rattle, and we'll come back to this in a moment. and we've got a die as well. There you go. And all these wonderful objects. So they've got a die. There it is. And they're saying that I think that they're describing this as it looks like a bronze die to me, but they're describing it as a bone die that's been coloured green because of the copper in the bronze, which would make actual sense. So what they've got is some gaming pieces, the sort of bone die there, which has been stained, and obviously back to the rattle. And when we think about something like this, this is interesting that you know, no matter what we say about discoveries like this, they are now classed as treasure trove. Whoever finds them, whether they're archaeologists, whether they're metal detecting enthusiasts, they're classed as treasure trove because they're metal objects and they're a collection, they're a hoard treasure trove. So so this is rather interesting. The rattle seems to have all the rattle seems to have all of its pieces, including the peas, that went inside it, although it is extremely fragile. Rattles were used in Roman religious ceremonies, and very few have ever been found in Britain. So obviously the peas inside, I'm sure we used to make little rattles when we were children and whatever, but this is a proper rattle, a bronze rattle. So for ceremonies associated with that sort of sense of that Roman era presence. So all of these things have been donated to the museum, and money's been donated to conserve these objects, to put them on display, which is absolutely brilliant. And they're on display in the Buckinghamshire Museum, which is again great. So these are very rare finds. Council Archaeology team directly involved. And here we go. This is gonna mess things up for Andy's brain. We also brought in Oxford Archaeology to carry out the dig. So is that a separate organisation than the one up by you, Andy? There you go. So and so these are all going to be put on display, and I think these objects are going to be put on display in the next few months, actually. So again, nice little object there. So I think I was referring to the Cotswold Oxford Archaeology Unit. I think that's right. Anyway, Andy can come in on that, but maybe Oxford Archaeology is a separate organisation. But anyway, what I want to do is I want us to look at this really interesting object. And actually, after the break, we've got a mosaic to look at. And we've actually got the archaeological stuff at Sheepen, which I want us to do. It's probably not going to be as long tonight, because I am in the process of getting the photographs into the book, Romans in, not Romans, the Barry and Cadoxton book. But before we go any further, this is a phallic nail cleaner. Yes. This is a nail cleaner shaped like a penis, found besides an English motorway. And it's a rare grooming object. And it reveals that the people who use this were very lucky. And look at that. It would probably be worn around somebody's neck, or basically on some kind of a belt. So archaeologists working near Cheltenham in Gloucestershire have uncovered a late Roman grooming tool. The tool itself is pretty unremarkable, a nail cleaner, but the shape is striking. It's clearly shaped like a penis. The copper alloy dates. Now, this is really interesting. It could date from about AD 350, which is now a period of Christianization of Britain, which is interesting in itself, the object. It was made to scrape dirt from beneath the fingernails, naturally. Its phallic form likely carried meaning associated with the Romanization of Britain, where such symbols were associated with protection, fertility, and good fortune. And shaped like a penis, obviously, if you're getting the mud from your nails, it's not going to hurt you either. It's not going to cause any infection. Small enough to hang from a cord, the object could travel with its owner as both a grooming tool and a good luck charm. Yes. A personal object from Roman Britain, the nail cleaner has a cylindrical phallic handle, a flattened two-pronged blade over here, and a suspension loop, which is here. Archaeologists said similar late Roman examples have been found elsewhere in Gloucester, Lincolnshire, and Leicestershire. But this is the finest one known in Britain. And the Romans liked keeping their nails clean. But this wouldn't have been a scandalous object at all. It would have been like quite normal. It'd just been like something that people would have just had, right? And to go into a little bit more detail, in Roman times, penises often served as simply good luck symbols. They were meant to ward off evil or bad luck. So obviously, cleaning your nails, you want something which is good luck. So you'd have, in the Roman world, you'd have pendants, which would be in the shape of a penis, rings that would be in the shape of a penis, military equipment, which would have phalluses associated with them. So while to our modern eyes, a penis-shaped nail cleaner seems more like a joke, for the Romans, it would have been for protection and something very practical. Romans used small personal care tools, and this would have been part of a kit: tweezers, scoops, other nail cleaners, portable grooming kits, the loop on the newly discovered object. And this, by the way, this has been reported in the past 4 hours, to be honest with you. That's probably why nobody's come across it. And there are other objects that they've actually found as well, right, including buckles and various other bits and pieces, which I might actually just show you next week, because I didn't actually get that. But there's a lot more to this find than meets the eye, which we might look at a little bit of detail next week. So before we go on a break, and before I feed my sheepses, and before I order a cup of camp coffee from the cafeteria, which is Michelle, and the kettle, which is not here, oh yeah, and that's what we're going to do next, and we're going to look at this next, right? We haven't got many images next, to be honest with you. I wanted to say that I've managed. I tell you what, guys, right? I did say that when we're in the caravan, I will show you some artifacts, right? Which I'm gonna grab now whilst you're looking at this on the screen, right? I'm gonna grab some artifacts, right, and photographs of me and Michelle dressed up as pirates. But here we go. I've got a box of artifacts, right, and let's do this now. So I don't know if you're getting these pop-ups on the screen, but they do get a bit of a pain. Right, okay, so let's stop that. And before anyone says anything, right? Look at this. A box of artifacts. There you go. And the box of artifacts include, I've got to be writing a report on this very, very soon. Where's one of the star finds in here? Oh, look at this, yeah. Look at this nice bit of a medieval spout. Look at that there. Look at that wonderful object there. Oh, by the way, my fingernail has come off now. So anyway, so this is, I'm going to be, we got some new software to put this into a state of the art report. What else have we got here? Oh yes, we got sort of loads of Roman objects in this bag, including, look at this. Hang on a minute, that's not Roman. Actually, whoever labelled these, this is why I've got to go through them. They're not Roman. Right, so what else have we got here? So what else? We've got there is lots of medieval stuff. Hang on a minute. Let's just find some more interesting things. We've got lots of sort of little samples like this, which are bits of medieval pottery. And a nice bit of iron, probably from some kind of cauldron, which I've got to go through. Nice bits of bone, sheepy bones. There you go. And a whole bag here of greenware medieval pottery, which I can just get out in my hand. This is the thing, having a box like this, you don't know what you might find. And this is all nice shiny bits of greenware, which and that's probably from Bristol. So what the whole point is that I've got something called a Munsell's chart, which will mean that when I'm color coding these, right, it'll classify them directly to other bits of pottery that have been found in Britain, right? We do the thicknesses, we do the glaze, we do whether they're glazed, whether they're sort of got a core, which is grey, and the outside is sort of, yeah, the fabric, yeah. So basically, what it is we've got new software, and this report, instead of this taking about 2 months to do, is probably going to take about a week. And this itself is a nice bit of medieval fabric, which is unglazed, probably from a large jug. And there's lots of there's bits of quartz in here as well, lots of other grit, and this probably indicates that it's probably from a local kiln, because there's lots of quartz in the area that this came from. So yes, and actually the other thing as well is, this is going to sound boring to most of you, but what I'm going to do is that when I'm looking at these artifacts, I'm going to have the camera set up whilst I'm mumbling to myself and taking photographs and showing stuff on the screen. So this is just one box of a number of archaeological sites that I need to get published over the next few years. So there we go. And that's it. Oh, and there's a little sketch of one of the artifacts, which is like, yeah, which is sort of like a flower effect on one of the artifacts. So that's that. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a break. Oh, by the way, I've got something to show you, right? As you know, I just wanted to show you that I am related to this guy, and I've never told you before, but this man is actually Lloyd George. I'm related to Lloyd George, and obviously you can tell. And the noses are the same. Look at the noses. Can you see the you can see the nose thing, can't you? There it is. Yes. On that note, right, and oh yeah, and one last thing, one quick thing I'm going to do. One quick thing, right? Is that I've got some really nice old images of archaeological excavations that I was involved in the 1980s, and I'll just show you that. Look at that there, nice old photograph showing archaeological excavations. There you go. And yes, I can't show you anymore. Can I just show you something really weird, right? I'll show you something really weird, right? This itself, when I was 14, right, I put this plan together of a Bronze Age burial mound when I was 14, right? And weirdly enough, this is actually really detailed, so detailed, right? That I just can't. I wouldn't be able to do this detail now. I don't know why, but I've got a copy of that, and that's going in the next book as well. So let's see if there's any questions. Drina's all excited. Oh, Drina, maybe what I should come up to you for a whole week, and I'll just sit in the corner with my feet up like this, right, and with my laptop, sort of doing the finishing touches for the book, right. I know what we'll do. We'll get Anne. She can go out and get the cakes, right. Gina, you can go down the shop and get some chips. We have chips at twice a day, right, and that'll be good. Right, okay then. I've not forgotten you, Margaret. Right, you can take us all out for a pub at the end. Right, talking about pubs, Andy.
No questions, thanks.
Anne. Anne.
No, I was thinking if there was something. No, sorry about that.
By the way, I'm setting up a new religious cult. Margaret.
When you look at these crop marks from up in the air,
loving them.
Up in the air, you just assume that if it's a rectangular shape with kind of playing card corners, it's Roman. But what else could it be if not Roman?
Well, it could just be a straightforward Iron Age enclosure, right? If you can remember way back, we started looking at Neolithic enclosures in the upland of Scotland, right? And lots of them were sort of fairly linear shaped.
Were they? Yeah.
The thing is, as you know, right? As you know, if you've got a number of different people wanting to divide the land, right? Dividing the land in circular sort of arrangements, right, is going to mean that you've got a bit in the middle, right? So if you have them more linear, right, and more organized, then the landscape is going to look more linear. and that is the Iron Age as well. It's just that I think we're obsessed. I think we're more. Joe, when you think about it, right? Look at those avenues, right? In the Neolithic period, they were linear, right? They went on for long distances, right? I know they curved and bent and stuff, but so did Roman roads, you know. So yeah, it's just that weird thing. Anyway, anything else, Margaret?
No, thank you.
We're getting through them quite quick. Rog, Dirty Rog, anything you want to say, love?
Oh, I'm going to retire in a minute.
Oh.
Ooh!
But no, nothing yet.
All right, then, Rog. Well, listen. We'll stay to the end of the questions, and we'll let you go, Rog. Judith.
No, I've got no questions. No, thank you.
Oh,
bit quiet, isn't it? Bit quiet. Drina.
No. I was fascinated by that rattle. It's the first time I heard they'd had any, and the fact that it's for religious purposes. It's very interesting.
But then again, we're being told it's for religious purposes. I'm sure somebody having a rattle, it would have been perfect for a child.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's a rattle. Yeah,
maybe a bit big for a child.
Hang on a minute, sizes and everything, and you know that it's just
quality.
It could have been. I had a big rattle when I was a child, so shut up. Yeah, the thing is, it's a rattle. A rattle's a rattle, and it could have had multiple purposes.
Of course, basically. Yeah.
That nail cleaner doesn't look. It looks too thick to go under your nails.
Yeah, I was thinking
too
that.
bulbous, isn't
Looks
it?
like a wooden peg.
How do they know it's for cleaning nails?
Yeah,
could clean your nostrils better, actually.
I
think it was a nostril cleaner.
So what you would do, you'd put the phallus bit up your end and go like that, would you?
Yeah, it looks more suitable for a nostril than a fingernail, I would say.
I thought it was a peg.
Well,
so
like a dolly peg.
Yeah,
so you stick them in your ears as well and clean your ears out.
Yeah, that too. But I wouldn't have thought you could get it under a nail.
No, can't.
Yeah, just all right. Look,
I don't think that's right. It's probably an old peg.
You're a blooming old peg.
I know.
Right. Okay then. Will's not an old peg. Will, anything you want to say?
Just the calculated weight of Nero's bowl is somewhere close to 40 tons.
Wow.
That's on the basis of 4,800 tons per cubic meter of porphyry, of 4,800 pounds weight per cubic yard, not cubic meter. So that would put it close 20. The dimension 25 feet by say 12 to 20 inches in depth would give it a weight of about 40 tons.
So that's after as you've said, just after you've taken account of the depth and everything, yeah?
Well, you do an adjustment for the depth. So you might find it's 30 tons rather than 40 tons, but I didn't do the full calculation and allow for the lip and whatever. But as a concave bowl, you do a calculation on a concave bowl.
Can I with modern technology, wouldn't be that difficult to estimate? Surely, God.
No, they could do it. They just need to check the dimensions of the lip and the inner depth, and then they can do an exact calculation based on the known weight of porphyry, which is 2,800 kgs per cubic meter. So
if me and Roger had a men's bath in there, right? Roger could be all the way over there, and I could be all the way over there, and we wouldn't need to see each other.
Something like that.
Nero was only a little fellow, wasn't he?
They probably did it so he would drown.
Anyway.
Swim in it.
Oh my God! You could have little miniature battles and all sorts on there. You could have all these boats.
Oh, do you think he had little ducks and things?
Oh yeah. Me and Andy are there with Nero. We're going to do it.
You'd need a strong floor.
Yeah.
Well, I can imagine it's not on the first floor, is it?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
It'll be on the ground floor, won't it, Gina?
Yeah, I think so. On the soil.
Yeah. Solid rock underneath it,
Absolutely,
you know? Just like the Parthenon is built on solid rock.
Yeah.
It's the same equation, right? They're going to have the same kind of background.
Can you imagine somebody emptying the blooming thing with all the water?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or filling it.
God.
Filling it would take you a few hours.
Can you imagine as a punishment you've got to drink it all?
Oh, hey.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Oh.
It's good that it's in a circular building, isn't it?
That would wash out the system. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, porphyry is the same material used for sarcophagi in ancient Egypt. For the
and caskets and little jars that they put their intestines in, and the heart and the liver and the kidneys.
Oh.
And Will, what you could do is research into whether there is a statue of Lloyd George made of porphyry.
In the bottom of Deep Navigation Pit, they dropped it down there after they closed it.
Oh, you! Hey, hang on a minute. Hey, do you know what somebody said to me the other day? They said, they said, I wouldn't boast too much about being related to Lloyd George. Do you know he was a Nazi sympathizer?
Oh, was he? I know he was.
Oh, thanks, guys. Don't all leave me at once.
Yeah. I know he was a womanizer.
Me and Roger have never been womanizers. We're tut.
No. I'd be too shy.
Roger told me that the only people who are going to be involved in his archaeological work at Whitchurch are going to be women. I don't know why that is.
That's an all women. WI is a lot.
Yeah. Right. Let's just stop. Right, guys, we're going to have a break now. It's 8:30, brilliant time. And are you leaving us now, Rog?
Yes, things to do. Catch up.
Okay, Rog.
Bye, Rog.
Bye.
Bye. Next week I'm away.
Oh.
Ooh.
So to give you a bit of peace and you can talk. My nose is now getting better. And me forehead. So I'm looking better. And there's hope.
It would help if we could actually see him.
We can't see you. We can't even see the top of your head this week.
We're looking at the ceiling.
I think he's gone to bed already.
Yeah, there you are.
He is. Oh, there he is. There's the man. There's the man.
Looking rosy.
Oh, look at that. Oh, my God. What a man. What a man. Right. Okay, rocking Rosie. We'll see you next week, Rog.
Yes, after a week of passion. Yeah.
A week of passion? What?
Yeah.
Yes, he's not here next week. He just said that.
But he said he's got a week of passion, Andy.
Yeah, that's why he's not here.
Yeah, that's right. Simple.
I worked it out, Roger. All right. I was listening.
Well done, man. Just follow me now. As it is. We don't have to be spelling things out.
No.
And it's all ready. The boudoir's ready. Okay, then.
Take care, Rog. We'll have a break now, guys.
Bye, Rog.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Rog. Bye-bye, Rog. Bye-bye.
I'll be thinking of you.
I won't. Bye-bye, Rog.
Cheers. Night-night.
Bye-bye. Night-night.
Oh, Roger. Oh, my God.
Sleep well. I'll be thinking of you.
Doesn't he look red? Roger, just go. Right, ta-ra.
I want to leave a nice little message to be pleasant. You know.
Roger, we'll see you soon, my darling.
What?
Oh,
you're a very good colour.
You got what, love?
Oh.
No, that's fine. So there we are. I'll leave you to it. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh my God, it's like something. It's like something out of a weird, dodgy movie with Roger. Right, we'll have a break now. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Right, I'm coming back.
So you're keeping well on?
Yep, I'm keeping very well, really. Yes. And I don't mind hot weather. Although last night, I think was the first night this had happened to me. I felt really hot. I got out of bed and put a flannel wrap, like cold water around my neck. And I put this thing on my head and I sort of slept with it for a while. It kept me asleep and my head was still warm, but my arms were cold. I thought it was very weird.
Right. Yeah.
Very humid last night. I barely slept a wink.
Yeah. Well, I slept with this cold flannel sort of on my head, and it kept my head cool enough for me to sleep. So I just couldn't get to sleep before that. I was so scratching and hot.
Yeah.
And
if you considered taking a rubber hot water bottle and putting cold water with ice in the bottle and put it at your feet, you might find your body temperature actually cools down faster than putting something on your head. Although
does it?
Heat,
do you need to do the two or just the one?
Well, heat expires through your head, right? So that's why in Canada you wear a toque throughout the winter to conserve the heat being dissipated through the top of your head. And they'll say to you that heat goes through the top of your head faster than anywhere else in your body.
Yeah, so that's probably explaining.
Cooling your feet, your blood, if you've got good circulation, you're cooling your blood to a certain degree. And that
it does help. Cold feet.
So,
well, I don't sleep well at all in the summer. And somebody told me about this miracle honey, sleepy honey. It's got valerian in it, vitamin B12, lavender, and all kinds of concoctions. So I bought some and it's made no difference whatsoever.
I wouldn't have expected to. The number of things you see on YouTube, especially, there's these doctors, eat this and it'll be wonderful in a fortnight. so much of that goes on. So
yeah, it's rubbish.
Most of it's rubbish when they're telling you that.
I find if I wake up during the night, I get up and do a bit of a crossword or read a bit of a book, have some tea, decaf tea, go back to bed, and I generally nod off then.
I can be asleep. I vary. Sometimes I get up in the middle of the night because I have to get up to go and have a wee. And sometimes I can get back into bed and go straight back to sleep. But other times I'm 2 or 3 hours awake. And then what I've been doing for years, though, because I sometimes can't get to sleep when I get to bed, for years I've been doing Sudokus, the very easy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, yeah. I mean, if you were doing the killer Sudokus, you have to really think about it. But if you're doing the easy ones, you're just writing it in. So it just stops you thinking about everything that's, you know, going around your head, keeping you awake.
Yeah.
And I find that works for me pretty well.
I get the Westmoreland Gazette most weeks, and their quiz pages are very good. And I try and tackle the cryptic crossword, which is really difficult. And it's nearly all anagrams. So that, yeah, if I can finish one of those, it's a miracle. But I'm also getting very forgetful. Lose it. Do you know where I found my glass? My glasses have been missing for weeks. Couldn't find my glasses anywhere. And I knew they were in the house somewhere. Looked everywhere. No sign of them. So I had to go and get some more prescription glasses. And I thought they'll turn up now that I've bought another pair. And sure enough, I found them outside. I've been growing lettuce in the garden, and they were in the lettuce bed. So I think they must have fallen off the top of my head. Either that or I'd placed them there.
How long had you lost them for? Weeks?
I lost them weeks ago.
Yeah?
Yeah, and the lettuce had got quite big and bushy, the leaves.
And hidden them.
And they were just glinting in the sunlight. There they were.
So you've got 2 pairs of glasses now.
It's good to have a spare pair, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm forgetting things, but I'm not losing things much yet. But I'm losing lots of words and place names and anything to do with names. And also I'm not sure. I know what day of the week it is, but I don't know the date. So I'm gradually declining, I think, into something, a cabbage.
I don't think so. You seem pretty with it to me.
It's very common, this loss of words and that sort of thing, though.
Yeah.
As people get older. Mind you, I remember when it first happened to me, it was most embarrassing. I was about 40, and I was with a friend that I knew well, met another friend that I knew well, and couldn't introduce them.
Oh, isn't that embarrassing?
Very embarrassing.
That's really embarrassing.
Lost one of the names.
Yeah.
So it's been going on a very long time now. I mean, these days you can excuse it with age, but when I was 40, you couldn't.
Do you keep a diary, Anne? Do you write
No.
every day? I keep thinking I should maybe keep a diary, because my children will say, oh, do you remember we did such and such a thing? And I can't for the life of me remember, which is not good. So I'm just gonna, I mean, I have a calendar and I put things down there, but I think it would be helpful to keep a diary.
Yeah. No, I keep a calendar, but not a diary. I've never really liked writing. Although I suppose if you're just noting down things you've done, it wouldn't be quite the same as to write an essay. You know, been too many essays in my life, I think.
What did you teach? And did you teach primary age?
No, well, I did start primary.
Yeah.
And then I stayed. Then I was home with raising my children. Got involved in a play group, in the village play group.
Yeah.
And did a lot of reading. I did probably as much reading when I was then as when I was at college.
Yeah.
And decided to go into nursery.
Oh, right.
And my career was in nursery. And I became head of a nursery, and then early years advisor for the borough.
Yeah.
And all of that came just from nursery work.
Yeah.
And my husband, when he trained, because when I married him, he'd got no qualifications because, although he was very bright, his parents couldn't afford a school uniform. So, of course, he couldn't.
Oh, gosh.
How it was.
Bless him.
Anyway, he went and did a teacher training course, and because I was so sold on this early years stuff and think it so matters. People always tend to think it's much better to be what you're doing in. I think your O levels and that are one in your early years. That does so much, and I really believe in that. And so when he got to later on, you see, he was going to be a teacher. He insisted on doing infant and nursery, and they didn't want him to because he'd been male. They at least in junior, but he insisted on it.
Right.
He was a really exceptional teacher at that level.
Oh, good.
Headship in 4 years. He was really good, really excellent with these kids.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but as I say, I was just so sold on this, which I wasn't when I trained. As I say, it was going through playgroup and having my children and reading everything I could about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I love my job, so I was very lucky.
I bet you did. It sounds like it. I think it's a lot harder teaching these days. Too much red tape.
Oh, absolutely. I remember when Mrs. Thatcher, would you remember when she brought those rules? And there was somebody came on a stage once on the news with a station, a train station trolley full of these, what would you call them, the rules that we all had to follow. And she kept changing them it was a nightmare. It was I wanted to get out of teaching then.
Yeah.
Really awful.
Yes, it's changed so much, hasn't it?
The thing is, they don't tend to I don't know, this. I mean, I remember one of the things, perhaps the one outstanding ones, were when all this stuff that came out when Mrs. Thatcher was there, and they gave these guidance to everything you learned, and there was the guidance on music. And one of the things they were saying, they should learn about all the composers.
Yeah.
And Simon Rattle, who was in charge of the Birmingham Symphony Orchestra, was jumping up and down, really cross. And he said, music is about sound. It's not about learning about life stories. I think he was absolutely right. It's about making sound and making. And yes, he was really cross. But it's a pity a few others didn't do that, who knew more than the politicians, people who really understood the subject they were doing. I remember him being really cross. So, yes, it was a bad time then, and I'm not sure how much better it's got, because teachers feel very much under pressure now. I'm not there.
Well, my daughter-in-law's a teacher. She teaches primary.
Yes.
And she works really, they have fabulous long holidays, but quite a few weeks of those holidays are taken up with work. And she does very long days. She's often on her computer till 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And weekends as well. She works really, really hard.
Well, there is so much to do. It isn't just your classroom time. It's all your preparation, your marking.
The preparation,
So much stuff to do.
And constant assessments.
And assessments, all that.
Oh, golly.
I'm back again, folks. I was, I just needed a drag.
Thank goodness Carl doesn't give us.
Have you ever smoked, really?
No, I haven't.
No, you're very fortunate. I am as well. I never smoked. I was very pleased. My dad warned me off it when I was a teenager.
No, I'm not. I've never smoked. I've never smoked. But the thing, but for whatever reason, they seem to always ask me, "Do you smoke?" I said, "Yeah." So
yes, it's. I suppose smoking it comes a lot into. Well, I suppose a lot of people do smoke, and it has all sorts of. I mean, look how wonderful that scene was from Yes Voyager. Now Voyager, when they were sharing a cigarette at the last scene of the film. It was really romantic, the use of cigarettes at that point. So I suppose, yes, you can think they can be useful in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
dramatic effect.
I agree. So tonight we're going to be taking the last bit of tonight is we just got one image of sheepen, just sort of a little bit of a plan. We've got another story that I want us to do, and we come at the end with a final lead into what we're doing next week, right? And we got a couple of images of that, so that'll see us out. I've fed the sheep. We've got some extremely intelligent sheep, and they ganged up on Michelle and they broke out.
I bet you tell them bedtime stories every night. That's what I care about.
They've gone very quiet.
Who, me?
The sheep have gone very, very quiet.
Yeah, but yeah, they have. They've been fed. That's why they've been fed. I've got this one sheep that seems to eat everything, and including egg and cress sandwiches, and they're not supposed to eat. They're not supposed to eat egg, but it eats egg and cress sandwiches. And thinking, well, you're not supposed to eat it, but they do. Oh yeah, I gotta crack on, folks. But we got a turkey, right? We've got 4 baby turkeys, right? Who are not baby turkeys anymore. And we've obviously got King baby Baldrick as well, and she's been attacking the sheep. So we're gonna keep in King baby Baldrick the second, and so right, we're gonna crack on. So we're gonna lead it off where we were on phalluses, and let's just. I've just pressed the screen, and it's probably frozen a minute. Yeah, it has frozen. So we're gonna go there. I don't need that on charge. I don't need that. I don't need that. And I'm just gonna see where we were. Oh, right. Okay, I'm gonna have to just go off a minute and just come back in because the image that we're ending on, I don't want us to do that first. So let's just go back to there, and let's go. We got to do the mosaic, and we do the phalluses. So we'll go back to screen sharing, and hopefully I'll be back. Right. Okay, there we go. There, and there. Okay, and we'll just get to the right. What are we seeing on the screen, Drina?
Nothing yet. Oh yeah, the phalluses. The cliff cleaners.
Yeah, right. Okay, right. Let's just start off. Right, there is the scale. Right, there is the scale. That is 5 centimeters. Right, on the scale there. Right. So these are not big things. So surely you would get that in between your think. Maybe not, but you know.
No, you wouldn't.
Right. So what? Right, you're going with the option that you stuff the phallitic end up your nose to clean your nose. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's that kind of shape. It just looks too thick to go under a nail.
Right. So can I just ask you a serious question? Do you usually put things that shape like penises up your nose?
If I've got a cold, I'll put wads of tissue up there.
Actually, I think it'd be perfect for cleaning your ear out. You know, I think we need to get off this now quickly. It's Drina's fault. You know. So where are we? right? This is lush, right? And I didn't bother looking for any more images because I thought this was it. I just wanted to show you this. So, you know, have you guys, have you ever had that sort of that important meeting sort of thingamajig that I've got tomorrow, and yeah, you're thinking I'm gonna mess it up. Right, I can't tell you anymore what it's about, but anyway, look at this. It's amazing, right? This was reported on the 17th of July 2026. Dream Roman mosaic find dug up from farmland. The most important archaeological find ever, right? So a mosaic discovered in the remains of a Roman villa have been excavated at a location in a farmer's field by archaeologists. The patterned tessera floor was part of a complex, which was in fact found 16 years ago. They've only been starting to work on it now, right? So this is associated with Exeter and Cotswolds archaeology, right? Andy, can you come in a minute?
Yeah.
Andy.
What?
Isn't it Oxford and Cotswold archaeology become amalgamated?
I believe so. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure they did, yeah.
Yeah, but
like
the previous
last year or something.
Yeah, but the previous one article said Oxford, and this is this year. And this one's now talking about Cotswold archaeology.
Oh, I'm confused then.
Andy, I'm confused, love. Confused. What we're going to do, we're going to send Will off to do some research next week. Will's going to work out if Cotswolds and Oxford archaeology is one organisation, and Cotswolds archaeology is another organisation, and Oxford archaeology is another organisation. That's his research for next week.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we had Oxford Archaeology North, and I think they all went together into one big one. But
stop. Right. Okay. Thank you, Andy. Right. Anyway, loving things like this because it's turned up in a ploughed field, and obviously there's been extensive ploughing, and the mosaic is still there. Amazing. And obviously we've got a nice floral design there. Wonderful floral design. Surrounded by basically a galosh. Now that there, that is that a galosh? Yeah, it looks like a galosh. This sort of wavy line into itself, galosh pattern, which is like Corinthian style. Or maybe they look like waves. It's difficult to actually work out from this image. But what we've got the bigger tessellation around the outside. So this is the inner panel, and these other bits of tessellation around the outside up against this wall here. So this is what they're excavating. So the trials have revealed a central floral design, and this will actually be lifted, which I think is a bit of a shame. Will go on the Tiverton, will be displayed at the Tiverton Museum. And it's basically saying it's a dream find. So obviously the owner, a chap by the name of John Hill. So basically realizing sort of that they got some tessellation, and then the farmers wanted to bring in the archaeologists. And it's Roman. Basically, this is a farmer talking, John Hill. Roman building up there. Definitely no. The Roman farmer. Definitely, there's no Roman building up there because you've been ploughing it for years. However, you just go down a little bit further, and you actually get the mosaic. So it's interesting to think that the farmer has never actually come across this at all, ever, right? And it's to do with the level of ploughing. If it's shallow ploughing, right, then you might miss this. If it's heavy ploughing, then you're going to rip it all out, and you're going to come up with tessellation. But this was actually found 16 years ago, and they're only excavating it now, which is really, really interesting. Students from Exeter University. And so Dr. Susan Greeny, and I think I've come across her at Exeter. It's an important Roman site, probably definitely a villa. With an agricultural building and bathhouse, associated with the large estate in Devon. And this is really interesting. They're saying that they do get villas in that area, and they do get agricultural buildings from the Roman era. But in that area of Devon, they don't find as many mosaics, which is an interesting thing. So this is associated with a high status family, according to Susan Greeny. While Roman villas are more common in areas such as Gloucester and Hampshire with mosaics. This itself is really interesting, and it might sort of be linked maybe with people in Exeter, because Exeter's not too far away from where this find was actually discovered. And this find itself from Devon is obviously, as they usually turn out to be, extremely rare find indeed. So I want to actually show you that as something different, because we don't actually show mosaics very often. But what I wanted to do tonight, before I go to the last bit tonight, which is, you'll see one of them to start off with, we look at a plan of an area known as Sheepen, right? I haven't got any images of the archaeological excavations at Sheepen, but I've got a presentation which is good anyway. And I mentioned the Sheepen site a few times, and the Sheepen site itself is associated with Camulodunum. Now, we've looked extensively about Camulodunum. There you go. They're from London. We'll go back to this. We've mentioned a lot about Camulodunum, and we've basically looked at Verulamium, St Albans. We've looked at Londinium, London. We've looked at Chelmsford last week, which is Caesar Magus, and Camulodunum and Colchester. So we looked at those 4 localities. This is the last one. This is Sheepen. Now, we have looked at some images from Sheepen before, but the Sheepen industrial area, and Sheepen is another locality that showed extensive signs of destruction in the Boudicca destruction of whether it's AD 60 or AD 61. Now, this thing about not being sure about when it was, whether it was AD 60 or AD 61, makes me think that there's something odd about the dates. In that, maybe the revolt actually did last more than a few months. Maybe it lasted a bit longer. But then again, if that's the case, then there would be more action with the Romans sooner. I don't know, but this is something. So the Sheepen Roman site, let's just think about this in relation to Camulodunum. I don't have any more images about this subject than what we've got. So looking at this important archaeological site at Sheepen, on the outskirts of modern Colchester, Camulodunum, archaeologists do get excited about Sheepen because it's got a big, thick black layer across it. Visitors often focus on the Roman walls and later town of Camulodunum. Sheepen tells the story of the very beginning of the sense of Roman Britain. What made Roman Britain, what developed Roman Britain is at Sheepen. It helps us understand what happened immediately after the invasion of AD 43, how the Roman army established control, and how a thriving industrial area developed before being destroyed by AD 61. Sheepen, our understanding of Sheepen itself is, if we didn't mention this tonight, what we're going to do next week and the week after would be a little less for it. So Sheepen, linked to Chelmsford, Caesar Magus last week, in a way. It's associated with the Trinovantes. And when we think about Sheepen, we do see something pre-Camulodunum Colchester. We see something pre-Roman. We see Sheepen itself appears to be an important settlement involved in all of those things needed to build a modern society in that world of the Iron Age into the civilized Roman world. And again, what I've said a number of times, if Roman era Britain had never happened, Sheepen would have developed out of its already metalworking, its already extensive trading associated with the River Colne, its religious activity. Obviously, yes, there was religion before the Romans in AD 43, craft production and so on. So this is why this is really, really important. And this links up with Chelmsford last week. Large quantities of important goods arrived before the Roman conquest, showing Britain already had strong links with Gaul. Now, this leads us to ask a question. and a question that we've not asked you before. If we are able to produce wonderful metal objects, we're already able to produce wonderful pottery. We're able to have craft manufacture of various objects. Why is it that we find large quantities of imported goods at Sheepen? It's almost as if these people are getting the best of all worlds. They're able to produce as much as they're able to import. And that is the thing. If they're unable to export goods, they would have been unable to import goods because there would have been nothing to trade. And I think that's a really important thing. That's a sign that we were extremely civilized before AD 43. Places like Caliva Atrabatum, places at Sheepen, Chelmsford, and so on. This was not an isolated village. It was already an important economic centre. And this is the thing that we need to keep remembering. Britain is more than just a place that the Romans invaded. It's more than a place that they could gain wealth through metal manufacture and metal mining. So the Roman invasion, AD 43, when Emperor Claudius invaded, Camalodunum became one of the first objectives. But Sheepen's massive to that. The Romans want to seize everything that's operational, or use everything that's operational within their structure of the Roman world, exactly linking in with what we've done in, for example, Cornwall and the tin trade. Although the fortress lay nearby after AD 43, Sheepen rapidly became a civilian and industrial suburb, whether it supported Rome, whether it actually looked outwards and inwards. The point is that it's almost as if two things are going on. The mist story. And the mist story is that Roman military base at Camalodunum, the local people had moved out and they were already Romanized there anyway, or is that the true story? Sheepen itself continues to be and continues to expand and get bigger and bigger and bigger. So what we do find is that at Sheepen, the Roman military would have needed new weapons, horseshoes, pottery, leather goods, timber, food. These are things, when anyone reads about the Roman era, they always look at lists of things that Roman soldiers carried with them and things that the Roman soldiers needed and things that went with the Romans. But then again, the Romans could not have survived in Britain without the craftsmen supplying some of their or most of the demand for the Roman military. And what we do see is excavations reveal an explosion of industrial activity just before and after the conquest of AD 43. And this is what this makes it really interesting. And I'm really, really happy to see that there's it says to Chelmsford on the map there. Obviously, Chelmsford at this stage was a dispersed little bit of a settlement. And then obviously it was something after AD 61 that we covered last week. Now, on the back of this, when we look at Sheepen, one of the remarkable discoveries there are the industries operating large quantities of slag, show blacksmiths were producing tools and military equipment. Bronze working, evidence includes molds, crucibles, and waste metal. Fine decorative objects were manufactured here. And that is the point. When we're trying to link in tin and when we're trying to link in bronze and all these other things, and when we think that this is the Iron Age and this is going into the Roman period where the Romans are highly dependent upon iron, nails, armor, and so on, bronze is still important. One of the other things that maybe we should be very aware of is the Roman pottery that the Roman military used. And this is something that I've not mentioned since we've been doing the Roman era. And I will mention it now. Although the Romans would have used Samian ware, and there was something called Roman military wares, which were made by specifically the legionaries themselves. Forget about Colchester a minute, forget about Sheepen. When we look at Dorset and we think about places like Maiden Castle, and we think about going into Devon, we think about the whole area, right? We think about something called black burnished ware. Now, black burnished ware was actually manufactured in the tens of millions of objects throughout the Roman era. And it was pottery that was utilized not just by the local people, but was actually mass produced by the for the Roman military. So it was local industries supplying this black burnished ware from Dorset all the way to garrisons on Hadrian's Wall. Whenever you see black burnished ware, it's always a thing, oh, the Roman military have been here, because it was Roman military acquisitions of local types of pottery, like this black burnished ware. And if you hear any lectures about Roman pottery, black burnished ware too usually comes up in conversation. Pottery that's principally made on the wheel. Now, interestingly enough, this is really, really interesting about Sheepen. And again, it's a shame I didn't get these images and stuff, but it was very difficult. Managed to do the research, but getting any images was basically near on impossible. We got this together anyway. Sheepen itself changes the name of something else. Can't, didn't, wouldn't, shouldn't. There's evidence of Sheepen, of people who are skilled enough that they were able to repair glass vessels. And there might be evidence that Sheepen was a place where glass was recycled, remelted and reblown to make recycled vessels at Sheepen, which is not many localities in Britain can say that. What we've got at Sheepen is evidence of organic remains, rarely surviving, but we've got them at Sheepen. Leather working evidence at Sheepen. We've got evidence of bone, combs, pins, and decorative objects. Overall, Sheepen functioned like an industrial estate serving Roman Britain during its early years. Now, again, when we talk about Sheepen, evidence for trade flourished. Finds included from Sheepen wine amphora from Spain, olive oil containers, fine Samian pottery from Gaul, imported glass, jewelry, coins from across the empire. This demonstrates that within only a few years of the conquest, Colchester had become connected to international trade network stretching across Europe, even though that already existed anyway. Now we're going to come on to the Boudicca revolt, which will directly link in with what we're going to do at the end. But we've still got a couple of things I want to say. So when we talk about Sheepen, again, at Sheepen, coming from the Iron Age into the Roman period, excavations uncovered ritual deposits underneath buildings, deliberate burial of objects associated with good luck for buildings to be constructed, and trades, credit and commerce, animal bones being deliberately buried, coins, unusual pits with all these bits and pieces in. It's associated with religious traditions within the Iron Age going into the Roman period, and associated with Roman beliefs as well. Next bit, Boudicca revolt, tying us in with the last bit tonight. Everything changed by AD 61. Queen Boudicca, as we know, or whatever story you want to go with, leading a band of Iceni marching on to Camalundunum. We know from the archaeology that the colony was very poorly defended. Sheepen lay directly in the path of the destruction. It was part of the path of destruction. Archaeologists uncovered thick destruction layers, which I will try and track down when we look at the thick layers associated with Sheepen. I'll try and do that. Charcoal, burnt timbers, collapsed buildings, burnt pottery, fire, reddened soil, all at Sheepen. These layers represent one of the clearest archaeological signatures of Boudicca's revolt anywhere in Britain. The destruction was widespread and catastrophic. So when we think about Sheepen was completely destroyed. It was erased. It was removed from the planet, right? Unlike the archaeological evidence that we see at Verulamium, St. Albans. That was not completely destroyed. There was stuff on the outskirts, to be said. It was not all flattened. We don't see at total destruction in Londinium either. We see more or less total destruction in London, in Camel and Junum, but at Sheepan it is absolutely catastrophic and widespread. So after the revolt following the rebellion, Roman Britain changed. So this is the point. Colchester remained important but never regained its early political status. London became the provincial capital. Sheepan continued to be occupied in places, but its industrial power had shifted elsewhere. This is the point. Sheepan had been removed from history, but before AD 61, it was massively important to history. So the archaeological excavations at Sheepan, much of what we do know comes from work in the 1900s. Dozens of buildings, workshops, roads, industrial waste, pottery kilns, metalworking areas, extensive Iron Age remains beneath Roman occupation. The site transformed our understanding of the transition from late Iron Age Roman Britain to late Iron Age Britain to Roman Britain. Rather than replacing everything overnight, archaeology shows considerable continuity. Many native craftspeople continued working and become part of the new Roman world. So just a few things as we finish, and we'll get on to the last images. Sheepan is one of Britain's most significant archaeological sites because it captures a pivotal moment in history. But what we don't find are human skulls there. The prosperity of late Iron Age Camel and Junum is because of Sheepan. And its prosperity increases because of the Roman army. Further economic growth greater than before AD 43 is reliant upon the Roman world, or maybe it isn't. Flourishing industry and trade, evidence of religious change and religious practices continuing through the archaeology at Sheepan. Sheepan tells us of a destructive Boudiccan revolt and now the new Roman era Britain. For archaeologists, Sheepan is far more than an industrial settlement. It represents the birthplace of Roman Britain as a functioning province where native traditions and Roman innovation combine to shape the next Roman centuries of British history. So questions, this'll be nice for next week, actually. Why did the Romans choose Camel and Junum as one of the first major centres? Was it because of Sheepan? How much continuity can we see between the Iron Age settlement and Roman occupation? Was there an immediate change? Was there a gradual change? What's going on? We've had answers to some of these questions in the other classes. What industries at Sheepan were most important to the Roman military, if not all of them? How convincing is the archaeological evidence for the Boudiccan destruction? That's a really odd question, because if we're not finding skeletons there, what is exactly going on there? What does Sheepan tell us about everyday life immediately after the Roman conquest and its decline and removal from the history books? Now, we're not doing any more of that, and I do apologize for not having any images on there really tonight. I could have made more of an effort and got some examples of the pottery and stuff, but anyway, so this last bit is something that I thought, right, we've got to do this. We really got to do this, and this goes into Roman skulls washed down Lost London River, and this dates us back to all the way back to 2013. A Roman skull was found at Liverpool Street Ticket Hall during Crossrail projects excavation. So there was lots of work along the tube line and all the rest of it. I remember I was in London around that time, and yeah, I forgot about this. There's an image of some of the Sheepan excavations, one of the pits there associated with the school, actually. But anyway, let's go on to the next bit and look at these skulls. We're liking them, and note the color. Now, this is interesting. About 20 Roman skulls were dug up from an old riverbed near Liverpool Street Station in London. And these skulls are associated with a river that we've mentioned before. Archaeologists working with London's Crossrail project have uncovered these skulls and a Roman period tag associated with them. Now, if they're all associated with one date, then that would be interesting. Or are they associated with a mixture of different dates? It is likely the bones were washed from a nearby burial site along one of London's lost rivers, the Walbrook. But at the time, people were obsessed that these were associated with Boudica. In 2012, 2013, archaeologists in London associated with the tube work and Liverpool Street Station have come up with tens of thousands of Roman items. These latest finds could give new insights into the lives of Roman people. Near intact pottery artifacts, I think we've got another image as well. There we go, not that. There we go. And some pottery over there on the left. So, cracking on. Near intact pottery artifacts were also found which probably travelled along the same route as the skulls. Other bone fragments would not have been washed as easily down the river. This landscape, the River Walbrook at this locality, has been paved over since the 1400s. The Walbrook River divided the western and eastern parts of the city. Its moist, muddy walls provided exceptionally good conditions for artifacts to be preserved. The discoveries were found about 3 meters below ground and beneath the legendary Bedlam Cemetery, a burial ground where hundreds, if not thousands of skeletons have been unearthed associated with a certain hospital, Bedlam. Though these skulls at this stage in 2013, and we will probably give more of this story next week, though they have yet to be forensically dated by the Museum of London, it looks like they all date to, when do they date from? At the time, some archaeologists said they definitely date from roughly AD 61. Others argued they date from AD 300, which is way after Boudica. It's relatively unusual to find so many skulls concentrated in one area when you're not in a graveyard and we're 10 yards outside the Roman city walls. So you'd associate the being on the outside of the Roman city walls associated with a burial area and not necessarily inside. Nice image. Roman law required burial outside the city, which meant they were burial sites encircling the whole town, city. What we're looking at here is how the Romans viewed their dead. You wouldn't imagine modern burial grounds being allowed to wash out into a river. An osteologist, Don Walker from the Museum of London, said the skulls were probably buried in different environments, shown by their shades of brown and grey. Obviously, one's grey, other ones are brown, others are another colour. Forensic studies show that when the body disintegrates near a watercourse, the skull travels furthest, either because it floats or it can roll along the base of the river. They were possibly buried in an area where there wasn't much land available. At the moment, it looks as though they've collected together through natural processes. And this is an interesting point. And the interesting thing is that this has actually still got its lower mandible intact. I just thought I'd chuck that in there. One thing that that point that I've just made, at the moment it looks as though they've collected together through natural processes. I've watched whole episodes of what was called mudlarks a few years ago. There was all these people looking for artifacts in the along the River Thames bank, and they've got to have licenses. And the mudlarks themselves, they find like of materials. So they'd find copper pins in one area. They would find bits of pottery in another area, bricks in another area, shoes in another area, right? In this area in the River Walbrook, we've got loads of skulls, and in other areas, loads of bits of pottery. is this to do with Boudica? They thought about this at the time. One of the archaeologists, Mr. Walker, said there was no evidence of any foul play, but details about their sex and age would only emerge through further investigations. Again, what can we see next week and maybe the week after? Chemical markers on the teeth could reveal what they ate. Archaeologists believe that the Crossrail project will unearth lots more archaeology, and it did up until 2018. So it's a bit earlier finishing tonight. It's 9:26. So I'm sure you guys will have lots of things you want to talk about and lots of things that you want to say. So it's your time to say it. So let's just move away from that. And again, apologies, I didn't have more images, well, about Sheepen, but unfortunately, that's the way it is sometimes. Right, okay then. Let's start off with any questions. So let's start off with Gina.
I haven't got any questions, thank you. It was really interesting, though.
Good. Good. I appreciate that. Right, okay then. Margaret, anything you want to say, love?
Yeah, it was really good and very good images. I just wondered if every major Roman city had its own Sheepen, its own industrial area that was possibly there before, similar circumstances.
Now that's a really interesting question, and it's a question that I can answer, is a question that I can't answer, right? So we'll put a composite answer together. That there's a stereotypical way of looking at Roman Britain, and it's a way of looking at Roman Britain that's different than how we look at Iron Age Britain. So if you think of Iron Age Britain, where you've got the atypical hill forts and you've got the atypical settlements, and that's all. That's what textbooks would push you into doing, right? But when you tear away the pages of that, it turns out that most hill forts, bank and ditch enclosures, are abandoned before the Roman period. So what's left? So you've got the settlements, and then you think, well, then you think you've got Caliva Atrabatum, and you've got Europolis. You've actually got towns emerging, right? And you've got big centres. We've looked at Braden. We've looked at Fishbourne. So you've got these big centres. And you're thinking, actually, that's a lot more complex. And then if you move to Sheepen, you look at, for example, the industrial area of Sheepen. So if we move that to that side, and then you look at the Romanized areas of Britain, and you typically look at places like Verulamium, which are becoming slowly Romanized, and you look at places like Camel and Junum, and you look at Welling Garden, where you've got these lots of burials that have got lots of Roman material in them. And then you come back and you think, hang on a minute, is this Romanization? Is this trade? What's going on at Caliva Atrabatum? Are they developing Caliva Atrabatum independently of what the influence is from the Roman world? I think too much weight is placed onto influence of the Roman world. As you know, I've not been forceful in that. I've been quite not dilly-dallying. I've been quite lukewater with that. I've just been saying it would have happened anyway, which I think is the respectful way to look at it, and not be blamed as somebody that is saying that these things would have only happened in Britain if it, as the Romans came here, when in fact that's the wrong way of looking at it, which is the way we've been doing. We've been looking at this sort of open schools area when we look at the Iron Age going into the Roman period proper. So when we look at Sheepen, we can actually start to see that if they've got an industry and they're trading outwards, they're able to bring goods inwards. And then that's very different than looking at the historian's point of view when you look at Caliva Atrabatum, where you've got this sort of elite way that the Romans came in, kicked all the local people out, and then they moved, not Caliver, sorry, Camel and Dunham, sorry, meant Camel and Dunham. This elitist way that historians got when they look at Camel and Dunham, that the Roman military moved into Camel and Dunham and they kicked all the local people out. They didn't do that at Caliver, by the way. So that's not what happened, because, or is that what happened? Is that what I've said? Is this what historians say? Is what archaeologists say? But what we do see at Sheepan is a very different history. We see that the Romans almost saw that and they just left the people there. It's almost as if the Romans were not saying we're going to go into Cornwall and take over the mining, and we're going to take over Sheepan and just make it Roman, and we're just going to have Roman traders there and they're going to be doing their own thing. The Romans are massively reliant upon what we produce. And that's something that people don't get, right? They don't get that story, because when you go to Hadrian's Wall, they talk about Roman military pottery. Yes, there is Roman military pottery. And then they say Roman military pottery, black burnished ware. But the black burnished ware is actually produced by people because of the clay color. It's gray. It's a reduced type of clay. It's a specific type of pottery that was found all around Roman military bases across Britain, and it happens to not come from Holt in North Wales, which is a completely different pottery, which is not a reduced pottery grey. It's an oxidized pottery. This pottery comes from Dorset. So people get into the idea that this is not Roman Britain. This is something very, very different. There's something else going on. And as you start to look deeper and deeper into the picture, you actually start to see a different picture emerging. When you absorb yourself into this stuff, you start to get a more clearer picture of the archaeology. So for example, when this pottery that I've got over here, we've got about, I would say there's about 500 artifacts there. So with the technology that we've got, I'm just there with a vernier calipers. I'm measuring the thickness. I'm there with the Munsell's chart, recording the colours. We do the weight, and we get that sort of worked out where the pottery comes from straight away, which is great. Yeah, I can speed analyze this now. When it's all analysed, I can get an overall picture. At this minute, it's just a box of artifacts. If you think about Roman Britain like that, it's just a box of artifacts, and we're just looking at these pieces and trying to put them together. Eventually, you get an overall picture, and it'll be very different from where we've started. And as I'm doing this, I'm getting something deeper out of it. It's when you're researching archaeology, right? Your mind is, for example, set on specific directions, right? And it's specific research. You're not talking to anybody, right? So when you do a PhD, you are talking to people. That's the whole point. That's why a PhD is different from any other degrees, because you're talking to all these different people, and people are coming in the room and all these other things, right? And this is the same with Roman Britain. You've got to do this way. And I tell you what, the reason what we're doing is the right way, because, and I say it's the right way, I am right about that, because I've got a Facebook page, right, which is called Barrion District Museumers, right? None of you are probably on it, right? And we started this page about a year. I had this page for years, right? And there was like 200 people on it, right? But we've had a couple of people come on there. The guy's called Joe. There's me, and there's John, and there's Kate, and there's a few other people, right? And what we've done is all of these people have put different things into it. So going from 200 people, we're now 3,100 people on this Facebook page, right? Wow. 3,000 people is a lot more than 200. Instead of me just posting stuff on, nobody's really inputting it in, right? When I'm writing my newspaper column, you can tell that my newspaper column is a lot better, right? Because I'm not just looking at books. I'm not just looking at newspaper reports and maps. I'm getting people saying, actually, I went to that building and they did this with it. I can remember there was like something over there, right? Because I'm bringing all these things into it. By doing Roman Britain this way, you're bringing all these other things into it. And you're seeing more. Margaret, I've just given a full lecture there. So anything else?
No, I think there's just a lot more to Iron Age Britain than we previously thought.
And what's happening? What's happening as we think on the fag here, right? The problem is Iron Age Britain has not gone away in these presentations, right?
No.
It's part of these presentations.
Discovering more and more, aren't we? There was a lot here before the Romans came.
Yes, because we cannot do Iron Age Britain and AD 43 and the Roman period, right? Because this is what happens, right? People do Roman Britain and the Iron Age stuff disappears, right? It's only military, it's only Viraconian, it's only Eboracum, it's only Diva Chester, it's only Chilean Isca, it's only all these places, right? And these Roman villas. But what's going on at the same time? Iron Age is continuing. Rocks are still being built in Orkney, right? And actually, if we want to move outside the box, which we've been doing, we've been looking at Ireland, we've been looking at all these other things. You know, a piece of marble from ancient Egypt, red marble from ancient Egypt, right? That's not in there that's in there because it sounds interesting to me, right? It's in there because it makes sense, because there's a lot more going on in the Roman world than just the Romans, and this is what's forgotten all the time.
Yeah. Thank you,
Margaret. And actually, when you look at, for example, my 60-second videos on Roman era Britain, I'm just taking up little things that have been in the news. Have you, I could be very careful what I say now, because just in case a certain person's watching, but have you all heard about this explosion in a quarry mine in South Wales called Gwaldagarth, which has flooded the local village?
No.
Right, this mining, well, you haven't heard it, so I'll have to do a video about it, right? So there's this mining complex, right? And it's been mined since the Roman period. I went in there, and in this thing, there's a massive cavern. It's absolutely bloody huge. You go in there through a tunnel. It's a massive cavern, right? And it's full of water. And there's all this mining equipment from the early 1800s in there. You can actually see it all in the water, right? But because of the way they've been quarrying, and because of the way that the cave has been conserved, right, there's been some kind of backlash explosion, and the water has just gushed out of it and flooded the local village, right? And the reason why I mention that is because there are Roman mine workings, and I haven't been able to do anything about it because there is important archaeology there. So it's the balance between archaeology, what's going on, people's lives, actual mining and quarrying at this minute, right? So these are the types of things that I like to do if I come across them in my 60 seconds on YouTube. And you didn't know about that one, so that's good. I just told you. Right. So Judith, I will not be doing any news about finding bodies of King Arthur. But by the way, me and Michelle, we do believe, right, Judith? Guys, don't tell Judith. This is how I get money out of Judith, right? Just listen to this, right? By the way, Judith, King Arthur is buried here, Judith, right? If you give me £100 a day, right, I'll allow you to excavate you to find his body, because he is buried here.
Where's here? I thought it was Nevin.
No, he's buried here, where I am, in West Wales.
Ah.
Because
did you find his sword?
Well, yeah, I got it. It's there. I got it, Judith. I got to be honest with you. Jokes aside, right? I got to tell you this, right? I'm going to tell you this. That I had these. Do you know I had these two people turn up last year who one said that King Arthur was buried here, and we got Jesus buried here as well. The King Arthur thing was fine, and then Jesus is buried actually here where I am. Right? I thought, right. And then somebody else, they turned around and they said, actually, do you know there's a cave nearby? Well, I said no. They said if you go over there, there's a cave nearby, and I believe that King Arthur's buried there. And I'm thinking, really? And Michelle, you know what Michelle said? Well, we need to check it out then, just to make sure.
Of course.
Well,
oh, shut up, Judith. I don't want to hear your opinion. Well, what's that, Judith?
Oh, well, they do say they found a cave, don't they?
Yeah, we've
had a preservation order stuck on it, so nobody can dig it or.
No, this is another cave.
Oh, you one.
And I have been told where this cave is.
Oh, be very careful.
Yeah. If you never see me again on a Tuesday, you know where I am. I'm in this cave that I've not told nobody where it is.
Yeah, so you've had a car accident.
Not another one.
No, another one.
Right, Judith, anything you want to say?
Yes, could we have some more about sheep if you get the chance? That was very interesting. There's more there than...
my apology about Sheepen is that I really wanted to do more about it, right? And what I'm going to do is I might, when we had those images from the Colchester Archaeological Trust, the ones that I didn't make public, that one. So I'm going to contact them again, and I will find out if I can get more from them about Sheepen excavation. So yeah, I will.
Thank you. No, that's it then. Thanks.
Okay, and the reason why you haven't had your rhubarb is because it's been so bloody dry, but as soon as it starts growing again, you will have it.
Lovely, thank you.
And little my little sheep is no longer likes the leaves, and they shouldn't be eating the leaves. Right, okay then. Drina, anything you want to say, love?
No, you've done me. No.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, no, it was the Sunday before. Did I tell you? Look at my glasses. Did I tell you what happened to my glasses? Me and Michelle, we went to a rave, right? And I had these on a seat, and Michelle sat on my glasses on the seat, so it broke the arms, right? So the guy running this sort of rave type thingamajig, right? He said, "Well, I've got some araldite." So you can imagine in a field, right? Sticking these together, right? Propping these up with several cans of whatever, gluing the glasses together, and there were bits of grass sticking out. It looked quite trendy.
God.
That's me, Drina. If you haven't got anything else, Drina, we'll go directly to Will. Will, babe.
Right. Observation, the River Colne, north of Sheepen.
Yeah.
Would have been a natural boundary protection from the northern tribes.
Yes.
Or for other families or settlements.
Yes.
The fact that craftsmen, certainly 2,000 years ago, would have clustered together in farm-like environments because they had ready materials that they would use and swap amongst each other to supply each other. And you had the river coming in and supplying them from externally, etc. And they could ship out.
Yeah. Have you finished?
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Will, because Will's reminded me a backlink to Margaret is that these industrial areas, right, existed in the Iron Age, and we've just seen it, right? And we need to go back to Judith and the images and a bit more about that. We've got to do more, right? We've got to do more. I got to show you objects. I feel I failed you on that tonight, but obviously you liked it anyway. So we'll get them to next week. So I want to fail. I think back to Margaret's point. Margaret's point is that there's this obsession with these in the Roman period military bases and so on, right? This is why I'm obsessed with walls rather than military base. I just love walls because I like the fabric and how that's built and stuff, but when there's been something that Time Team used to talk a lot about. They used to talk about industrial places along roads. So what you would get, you might get Ermine Street, and you might get a locality, you might get an industrial place and places to stay, pottery manufacture, and then you'd go on to another locality, right? And this is this is the way things that we see developing in Roman era Britain, but there's no reason to say that they ain't more spread out, which they probably are more spread out. I think the sadness is with Roman archaeology. I don't think that it's been done properly, right? There's been too much obsession with certain things rather than just looking at between AD 43 and AD 480 or something. This is the period we should be looking at rather than giving it a label. And that's something that we should be looking more at. And there's a lot more than meets the eye, basically. So anyway, thank you for that, Will. I tell you what, we'll have Andy, and the last word will be Anne. Anne, you're building this up. I hope you're taking notes.
I know. Yes, well, I'm hoping to ask a question. I've been hanging on since the beginning.
Andy, should we do Anne first?
Yeah, by all means, yes.
And go on, Anne.
In part, both Margaret and Will has answered it, and you part answered my question. But I was thinking it was Sheepen, which is an industrial area. Well, the one thing, when you have partly said this, there were other industrial areas like that. You mentioned others. Yeah. But the other thing, were they, when you think of when something really, a place really develops, to get that going, you'd have to have technology, you'd have to have artists and designers and all of that coming together. And I wondered, you know how like London attracts all sorts that when there's an opportunity, whether people moved into those areas.
And you've just actually hit another point that is too glaringly obvious. That there's a massive elephant in the room that you've just covered, and I've sort of missed your question a little bit because I was just thinking of the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is what you've just said, right? These industrial areas, these places that people go to, Anne, right?
Yes.
Now there's only one way people could go to these areas, is because they feel safe. There's a sense of peace.
Yes.
Right. There's a sense of unity. There's a sense of camaraderie. This is not the society. If you've got people fighting, killing, murdering, raping, right? None of this is going to happen, right? By developing industry, that's proof that it's a fairly peaceful society, right? I don't really think I should be saying what I'm just about to say, but I'm going to say it, right? If you compare, for example, Mexico with the United States, the United States is relatively peaceful compared to Mexico, right? If Mexico got its act together, right, they would be a very powerful people. We would have Mexican products on our table. We would have Mexican cars in Britain. We would have all of these things. So maybe in 10 years' time, Mexico can rise as this great sort of global power as long as they can get themselves sorted out, right? That only happens when things are peaceful, when people feel safe.
Yeah.
Right.
It's also because an industrial area will generally be richer because it's producing all this stuff to export.
And it's bringing stuff in to export. Yeah. Well,
and it brings people in as well.
Yes,
there's an attraction for them to go there as long as it's peaceful. For that, I was thinking, as you find in a lot of places, well, all over the place, people move to where there's wealth, or loads of people are trying to move at the minute, and it's causing trouble. But you know, it's that sort of thing. But I at first I wondered whether Shippen was the only one, but you did the latest. There were several of them.
There would have been many more, and it's trying to identify those many more. Right? It's like it's liking this to who built the pyramids, right? Or it was slaves. Well, they said it was slaves until they found out that there were whole villages that served the building of the pyramids, right? It's when you actually go out to find the structure of society that you actually work how society works. Up until a few decades ago, people thought that the Romans came over to Britain, they killed everybody because these hill forts were there, right? Then they put their stamp of approval in Britain, and that's absolute rubbish. Most hill forts were not in use at that stage. you're now seeing a completely different picture. And this evolving picture is when people say, oh, these Celts were about killing people and they were very warlike people, right? I'm not seeing it. I really don't see it anymore. Even if I did once, I don't see it, because places like Sheepen could not have existed if people are killing each other all the time. It just doesn't happen. Fishbourne would not be there. Brading would not be there. Caliver Atrabatum would not be there. People would not just think to be able, right? Okay, let's just talk about a metaphor from today, right? People are able to be involved in the LBGT community because they're not being beaten up in the streets. They're not being spat on. They're able to go to protest. They're able to go to Pride because they feel secure. They feel happy. They feel okay doing it, right? They're not threatened. All that's gone. 50 years ago, they wouldn't have been able to do it, right? And that's a fact, right? Now they're able to do it because it's a peaceful society, right? Sheepen would not exist if it was not for a peaceful society. End of.
Thank you.
I'm sure most of you agree. If you disagree, then that's fine. Come up and tell me. But before we disagree with any of that stuff, and before we nearly finish, Andy.
Yeah, I was intrigued when you said in that Sheepen, it was in that area that's covered by the dark layer that is commonly referred to as the destruction layer.
The dark layer.
But there's no remains in.
Human remains.
Yeah. That's a little bit odd, is it not?
You
If it
know
was
what?
a destructive layer.
You know what's going to happen? I'm going to get more images from Colchester, and I say we've got one body being found, but I haven't got that. But you know, it's like catching for straws. We found 1 or 2 bits of human remain in Colchester, and that's a little bit of evidence to tell us that everyone was butchered, right? But it's not though, and it's going back to that. Can you remember you said it, Andy? You said about why haven't they found a mass grave associated with all those people that were killed in the Temple of Claudius? Where's that mass grave? Where are all those hundreds, if not 1,000 people who were in the Temple of Claudius, all being killed and burnt alive over several days? Where are those bodies? Where are they? Surely they would have. The easiest thing is to dig a massive hole, chuck all these bodies in, jump in. It's over.
You would have to do that. Yeah.
Maybe they all ended up in the river and they've all washed up at Liverpool Station.
Shut up! Stop talking rubbish. Oh, so I tell you what, this is what we do. They go down the Colne River, right? They go all the way out into the bloody North Sea, right? They come back in all the way up the River Thames. Oh, and they happen to go up the an extinct river system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The point is, Karl,
the Walbrook. Yeah.
The Romans threw their bodies into the Tiber. The Indians threw their bodies into the Indus, and other cultures in the rest of the world didn't necessarily burn the bodies and then throw the ashes in. Sometimes they just threw the bodies in because they knew they were going to just disappear. So,
and Will's just mentioned there's a mystery in the Iron Age for a small period of time where there are no bodies because they were being placed out into rivers. But Will, I think the issue that we're talking about, Will, is not so much of what you've just mentioned, is more in the issue that at this period we're talking about this layer across these 4 main areas, right? Camalodunum, Sheepen, Verulamium, Londinium. But we don't see these bodies, right? There should be bodies in this layer, and we're not finding them.
The first point of revolt is to destroy the impression of your oppressor. So, the same as the Germans bombed everything across Europe, and the same as every other conqueror who moved through the last 2,000 years, they destroyed the culture by destroying the edifices of the culture, not just the people. The people fled. If you were capable of walking, running, riding a horse, you fled. You went somewhere else. You went to the furthest point you could. That's it. They fled. Those people who were too slow, or those who were defensive, yes, they perhaps were the casualties where the bodies were left behind. So again, it's the same migration. We've got the same problem throughout the rest of the world, where you've got millions of people now migrating from Africa, from South America, into North America. into Europe, it's because of that threat of war. People migrate, they run away. They don't necessarily stand and fight unless that's their job, unless they've got something that they really want to hang on to.
And
so it's a cultural thing.
And on that point, really, really odd, right? For a new film that we're working on, right? We've got a film crew in Nigeria, right? And the Nigerian film crew, they're filming some footage for us, right? Which is going to be part of the overall film. And one of the producers, he said it would be great to come over to the UK one day. And I said, look, mates, right? It would be better for you to build up your film industry in Nigeria rather than anything. Yeah, I totally agree with you. So it's like when people have been convinced that there are good things happening, right? This goes back to the sheepen thing, and people are happy and settled, and then that's where you're finding the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So we managed to bring it all back to the same place. Amazing. Amazing enough, we finished the lecture about 30 minutes ago, and we're still here. So, anyone want to say anything else before we finish?
No, it was very good. Yeah. Thank you.
Very interesting.
It was, yeah.
Good. And if you've got an opportunity, see Odysseus, and even if you don't like violent film or whatever, right, close your eyes and listen to the musical instruments. That's why I'm going. And also 3 hours eating a massive tub of popcorn is heaven for me. Right. Okay. If nobody wants to say anything else, thank you very much. And we're going to say goodnight just before 10 o'clock. Amazing. It's early for once. Right. And yeah, thank you for your support, and good to see you back, Will. And we will speak to you all soon. So I'm going to say goodnight to Anne, Andy, Margaret, Judith, Drina, and Will, and the Pope, and Lloyd George.
Of course.
Good night all.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
guys. Night, guys. Night. It's all for the good of the country. There we go. I don't know if that went out. Not a single person on live, but strangely enough, there are people on live here. I don't know where they are, but nobody said anything. But anyone watching on live, don't forget to like and subscribe. Join my channel. It's been great having you there. And that's me done for tonight. And I'm going to go. Thank you very, very much. More about sheepen. I'm going to do sheepen site. Oh God, this is a thing, getting these images, getting this information. So Geoffrey of Monmouth and the case of the Walbrook skulls. Oh my God. Not Geoffrey of Monmouth. Anyway. Is it raining? I don't know. Is it windy? Thank you very much for listening tonight. Again, anyone online, you've got an opportunity to say anything. If you don't want to say anything, yeah, I'm gonna crack on and put some images in the book and see how that goes. And there we go. And it's very late now, so anyway, thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe. Nothing in the chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20. Chat 1, chat 2, chat 3, chat 4, chat 5, chat 6, chat 7, chat 8, chat 9, chat 10, chat 11, chat 12, chat 13, chat 14, chat 15, chat 16, chat 17, chat 18, chat 19, chat 20. Oh, nothing in the chat. 1, 2, 3. Nothing there. Like and subscribe.